Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dynamite After Dark. I am your host, Zanman Chain Sabunia, along with my good buddy, the Honorable Jeff.
Yeah, and you're a dick, by the way.
It was a misspeaking on my part. But yeah, it definitely
Oh,
came
okay.
across as me being a dick. I totally agree. Um,
He told me to kill myself. I'm just saying.
I technically did not tell you to, Ashley. Why don't you?
Oh, it's the best thing that's happened to me tonight. I'm not gonna lie.
The best thing that happened to you is your best friend told you to kill yourself. That's awesome, Jeff.
Right, exactly. Oh
Uh,
my god.
guys,
Anyway, the show,
wow.
the show, the show was amazing.
I expected to start off with a really somber note about how the world changed, and so we start off laughing at my stupidity. So. Um,
Well, that's how we are. Let's bring levity to this situation.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so anyway, guys, as you know, since the last time we were on the air, the world has changed. COVID-19 has basically taken over precautions have taken over the country, and everything is shut down. You can't go to see the movie theater, we can't go see the movie in the theater. Shopping malls are shut down. You're not supposed to go to the clinic or the dental office unless you're having an emergency. You can't even go to school if you're a kid, which really sucks. It's
Yeah,
I
tell me
mean, you're
about that.
I mean, you're like you're and I feel for you, Jeff, and all the people out there that have kids usually in daycare and have to work. Luckily, we live in a place where and you have the capability of working from home to take care of your kid there. But I also feel for people like my niece who is a senior this year, and she may not get a graduation ceremony. She's almost certainly not going to get prom. It's really a weird time right now in the country. Um, and I was disappointed and upset that there was no the two Ring of Honor shows we've been touting for the last 3 or 4 episodes were canceled. WrestleMania is going to be very interesting this year, and tonight we had a very interesting Dynamite set in an open arena, or I'm sorry, an
Well,
empty arena.
it's not just that. I mean, we ended up having to cancel last night's show, which, to be honest, is one of the highlights of my week, and I'm guessing probably Shane's as well.
Hmm.
Um, we do these shows twice a week. We do the YouTube shows twice a month, and everything right now is kind of up in the air. We're doing what we can when we can, but the reality is, last night we had to cancel our shows because of this whole. I don't want to call it a plague, but ultimately it's a plague. Um, we both ended up being sent home from work yesterday because of precautions and had to set up workstations at home and things like that so we can work from home. And that ended up canceling last night's show. And anyone listening right now, we apologize for that, but it was really one of those things out of our control.
Yeah, we got authorization to bring home. Well, at least I did. I'm not sure how Jeff's department did it because he works in a completely different department than I do, even though we work in the same building and for the same company. But I already had the capability to work from home with my laptop, but the job that I do, it's
Whoa. Did I just lose you there?
oh, I'm sorry, I must have hit mute by mistake. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So did you hear anything I was saying at all?
I heard I have the capability to work at home, and that was it.
Okay. So I have the capability to work from home, but I have a 15-inch monitor, on my laptop. So um, it's very difficult for me to do the job that I do on there. So I got authorization yesterday from our vice president to bring home my monitors, my remote keyboard, basically everything I have at my desk at work other than my desk chair, so I could actually have a home office set up.
I really missed that desk chair today. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
After sitting in this kitchen chair all day long, I'm like, oh God, I wish I had that recliner.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, and I got the same.
and the only nice thing really about being home, well, a couple of nice things. Number one is somehow I sprained my foot one day last week, and so like not having this pressure of my shoes on it really helped a lot today. But also, like, we kind of have some really great coworkers. You've got your son, and your cat, and I had my two dogs here with me all day.
Oh, and my cat took full advantage on my lap today. She was like, "You're
Are you
home.
really
I'm
telling me
sitting on
you
your."
were petting a pussy while you were working?
Maybe. No, I mean, ultimately, it's not my first choice. I am as much as I hate everyone in the world, I'm also a people person. So being around the people that I like every day is a godsend. Um, I enjoy going to work. I enjoy my job. Doing it from home was difficult, especially because I have my toddler this week. So that was more challenging. Um, when the workday got over, I was exhausted beyond belief. But this episode of Dynamite, I'm going to turn it back to wrestling here because let's stop being depressed. This
Well,
episode of Dynamite.
I wanted to say one more thing, and that is that until just a couple of days ago, I kind of been like, well, I'm not gonna worry. I'm not really worried about it because I'm not old and I'm not disabled
Oh,
and I'm
I'm
not I don't have a weak immune system. And then I realized it affects the lungs, and I have asthma. I probably should be a little bit more worried than I am.
I'm pushing 50. I'm 46 years old. I've got two immunodeficiencies with diabetes and my thyroid condition. I smoke on top of it all, which I know, bad habit. I got to stop. Blah blah.
You said you stopped a couple of weeks ago. What the hell's wrong with you?
I have stopped so many times for the last few years.
That's true.
Okay, I'm a bad guy. Let's just leave it
You're
at
not a
that.
bad guy. You definitely cut down
Anyway,
on what you used to smoke. So you're not a chain smoker anymore like you used to be.
that is true. That is very true. Except for today, I'm not gonna lie. But regardless, it scares me to a point where it's worth noticing. I've gotten to the point with my kid where today we stayed home, and that was it. I did my work. He played his games. Everything was fine. But man, multitasking between work and with a toddler is, can I say entertaining? Or would that be putting it a little too lightly? Oh my God, I was stressed out by the end of the workday.
Yeah, it really is. I'm not happy about what's happening with the world, obviously, and it definitely has put a crimp on entertainment and all that kind of stuff. But but the slowdown at work, I think, is going to help me with some of these projects that I needed to get done. So and I think being at home will help me with that too, because I don't want to have those distractions of people coming to my desk. Not you, I mean, but people coming to my desk and be like, "Hey, can you help me like with this? Hey, I got a Horizon question or whatever." Things like that.
The funny thing is, I said that today too. I was like, oh, I'm going to be so productive. No one's going to be asking me questions. My IM and my email was filled today. Filled with questions. I'm like, oh, come on, guys. I'm working from home. Leave me alone.
Well, mine wasn't. I got an unexpected project on a spreadsheet that took me the entire day, and it's probably taking me about a first hour or two tomorrow to finish it. But I still
Attaboy.
will be able to get more stuff done than I was planning.
The nice thing is we can wake up about 15 minutes before we go to work. So there's that.
Yeah, actually, my boss, my team leader, actually sent something out today saying even though we're now sequestered at home, let's try to follow our schedule. I was like, I started 15 minutes early because I was bored and had nothing to do.
Right. I started 45 minutes early because of the same reason. I woke up at the same time and I drank my coffee and I'm like, I'm going to go to work now. So
Right.
it was nice.
I had my coffee made. I was sitting here with my coffee. I'm like, I can't watch a TV show in 15 minutes. I can't play a video game in 15 minutes. So I might as well just start my day early and end it early. So yes, talking about pro
Anyway,
wrestling. Before we get into Dynamite, I just want to let people know that last night was an aberration. We're still planning on doing Kingdom of Honor. We talked about things to cover. We've watched the Michael Elgin Eddie Edwards Best of Five series, so we still want to talk about that at some point, I think.
probably next week, but I'm
Um,
biting my tongue on it because I really want to talk about it, but not tonight.
we're going to watch the latest MLW and talk about that. There was that free show put on by Will Ospreay on YouTube. And I plan on watching that, and I also plan on buying a T-shirt there to help those guys out that put on that show. I was actually thinking we should look and see if we can find some House of Hardcore to watch.
And
We're
you
gonna
guys, not not
we're gonna
just
watch
that.
the stuff that we can watch. And I do want to do a shout out a little bit to Ring of Honor too, because I don't know if you saw this, Jeff, but they canceled all their shows through May yesterday.
Yep.
But in doing so, they also announced that anybody who has a Ring of Honor membership is going to get 3 free months,
Oh,
knowing that we're paying for something that we can't watch it right now, and that's really
so we
awesome
don't
of them.
we
So
don't have to renew until December now?
like December,
November?
November, whatever it is.
Oh, good. I'll have more money then. And the way they're booking now, I'm definitely renewing this. I know, 3 months ago we were like, we're out, we were done. But they're booking for the last couple shows, and even the 2 that we missed has been phenomenal. So that's something I'm definitely in on. And guys, anyone listening, anybody that is a wrestling fan, regardless of the wrestling that you follow, most of these guys that do wrestling, especially the independent promotions, the Impacts, and I'm going to include Impact even though they have a national contract, but Impact, Ring of Honor, MLW, NWA, any of these CZW, any of these smaller promotions, these guys don't have guaranteed contracts. And right now, when they're not working, they're not getting paid. So if you can find it in your heart and you have the extra money, and like myself, I just renewed a couple of subscriptions I had to some merch sites. If you have the money to do so, please give to these guys, because these are guys who are entertaining you. They are guys who are giving everything they have for a business they love. Your merchandise buys and subscriptions is really all they have at this point. So whatever you can do, by all means, do it.
And a really good
Buy
site
their
to do that on is Pro Wrestling Tees. If you go to Pro Wrestling Tees, there's all the independent wrestlers pretty much out there sell their own shirts on there, and they get the majority of the sale for that shirt. Pro Wrestling Tees obviously takes a percentage of it, but most of the large majority of what you're buying that T-shirt for $15 or $25 or whatever it is, and they're usually having a sale on something on that site, goes to the performers that you know and love.
And for the most part, the guys that aren't in the top 3. And when I say top 3, I mean WWE, NJPW, and AEW. They don't have their guaranteed contracts. They're not out there they're not making money right now because shows are canceled. And without their guaranteed contracts, they are living right now on nothing. And these are people that, and as much as people and media and everything puts a light on pro wrestling, these are people who literally go out there and put their life on the line to entertain us. The least we can do is support them by buying their merch right now.
Absolutely. So if you're gonna spend $60 on a video game, buy 2 T-shirts. If you were going to if you were planning on going out to dinner one night this week, and obviously you can't do that anymore, use that $20 or $30 to buy a T-shirt for one of these guys, or buy one of their videos, or something that it'll give you something as well. I mean, you're going to get something where you can wear, you can wear them and promote them and show your interest in them, or you can watch their stuff. But it's going to put some money in their pocket at a time where they're not having any money coming in whatsoever. They can't even do meet and greets right now, guys.
Yeah. And I mean, a perfect example of that was the Best Friends forgoing their hug tonight for an elbow bash.
Yep.
And I know the way they did it was kind of to make light of the situation, but it was also really poignant to what's going on in the world today. I mean, and Shane and I are two people. Luckily, we have jobs where they allow us to work from home, and we have jobs where we can take laptops home and monitors and mount, do our job from our house. But there's a lot of people that can't, and those are the people that are suffering right now. And if you can, I don't want to make this an infomercial and all that. We're trying to talk about wrestling and levitativity and all that. But, on top of wrestling, give to your local food shelf when you can. Give to whoever you can, because believe me, there's a lot of people out there that need it right now.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking in my own personal life, my brother and my niece both work at the same restaurant. That's shut down now. My other niece works at the library around here. That's shut down now. Um, and my daughter, I worry about my daughter every day now because she works in a group home. And my son is a paramedic firefighter. So I mean, they're going to be working with these folks that, the old folks that are at the high risk. And then again, my son's like going to be out there, dealing with who knows what in this current climate. Obviously, using
Right.
personal precautions, but that stuff doesn't always work. Masks rip and gloves rip, and it's a tough situation right now for everybody out there.
Well, and not just that, they're working short-staffed. And let's face it, the frontline people, the cops, the police, the firefighters, nurses especially, they're working short-staffed, and they're dealing with this right now on an epic proportion. We're 20 minutes into the show right now, and of course we didn't want it to be an infomercial about being safe, but just please think about who's affected, because you may be fine. I know, we do our best as people to be fine, but there are some people out there who are, single parents who are working night shifts at local fire stations, police stations, also, nurses. They're not fine. This is a time when we can come together as people and just be kind to each other. Whether it's, helping someone across the street or, like I said, donating to your local food shelf. Just do what you can.
And
do what you can right now.
That bought up all the toilet paper and bought up all the food. Maybe.
I say fuck you. No. I hope your dog eats it all.
Crazy people out there.
Anyway, on to tonight's Dynamite. We're 23 minutes in. We haven't talked about the show yet.
I think we covered some pretty important ground, though, during that first.
We did. We did, but we haven't talked about the show yet.
What struck me on this show is how much everybody is still thinking we should not trust Hangman Page. Or I'm sorry, Hands Watch Page.
All right, that was fun. There was some funny lines in this one, by the way.
And I realized that I've been on the Adam Page train for almost 4 years now. Ever since I watched that incredible match he had against Jay Briscoe at Death Before Dishonor 2016. And I realized that I've been like basically his number one guy on LOP radio. But maybe entire Lords of Pain in general. But I still have a hard time even just watching their program and thinking that that the story that they're trying to tell on commentary is really what we're seeing happen in the ring. The only time we've ever seen Hangman Page refuse to tag anybody has been Matt Jackson. And that has only been a couple of times. And it's not like, but yet they always try to sell it like, can they trust Hangman Page? Will he make a tag? He doesn't want to tag anybody. He wants to do everything for himself. And that's not the story that the characters are telling. It is very much cognitive dissonance for him.
And not just that, but the story that they're telling, and I hope it rings true because it's a great story. But the story they're telling is almost kind of a swerve with Page and Matt Jackson, where once we get to Blood or Guts, they're going to be both on the same page and loving each other.
Well, I know that's your theory. And I thought we saw them come together a little bit tonight, where Hangman almost helped do the indie
Meltzer
ticker
driver, or yeah.
with Jackson with Matt.
Speaking of theories,
Speaking of
we've been
Matt,
theorizing. Wait, what?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Speaking of theories,
Speaking
we've
of
been
Matt,
theorizing. We've been theorizing this for a couple of weeks now, and we kind of went back and forth. Chris Daniels would have made a good Exalted One, and we thought maybe Matt Hardy would have been a good Exalted One. But ultimately, I mean, I think you called it like 3 or 4 weeks ago. The Exalted One being Brody Lee.
I think I called it the day that the first time they ever mentioned the Exalted One, actually.
And it makes sense because when they really started talking about the Exalted One was the day he got released from his contract. Matt Hardy came along months later. Christopher Daniels, though, to me, would have been a great choice simply because this is a guy in the need of a heel turn. And he kind of fits that role. But I'm not mad at Brody Lee.
No, how could you be? I think one thing that you said when I first mentioned it was you didn't know if he had the mic skills to pull it off. After hearing him tonight, do you still feel that same way?
No, not at all. When I was listening to him cut his promo before he pulled his hood down, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, that's not Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy doesn't talk like that. That could be Christopher Daniels, but he doesn't talk like that. There's only one guy that talks like that, and it ended up being the guy with Brody Lee. So I'm really happy about it, and I loved his promo. I loved the way he portrayed his existence with old men not trusting him. It was a
So
great.
great.
Right? It was a great promo. I loved what he did. I loved the way he presented himself. I love the fact that he is out of his Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper type character, and he's back to that Brody Lee guy that we've known and loved for years before he went to the Evil Giant.
The great thing about it is really if you when you see him emerge both on the video and then especially when he's standing in the ring with all those guys, you look at how imposing and intimidating he really is. Because it's easy to forget when you're in the land of WWE and you're kind of treated like a jobber to the stars, how intimidating and strong and powerful a guy really is. But when you see him there,
Right.
you look and you're like, of course he's the guy. Of course he's the Exalted One. Of course he's the guy that Evil Uno would look to. Of course he's the guy that Grayson would look to. Because he's so big and he's intimidating. He's got that look in his eye. He's got the charisma. He looks like a cult leader. And he looks like, and not only that, but he's got the size and the power to back it up. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do now that he's there and he's been announced and he's made his impact.
I'm really interested in seeing where it goes. We've seen him as kind of anyone that has really followed his career. You've seen him as the badass guy, but then, God, last 8 years? It was 12, 13 when he joined WWE. He's been that follower. Even when he had a stint as the IC champion, and he was more of a follower than a leader. To see him as a leader now, I'm really interested in this. I want to see where they take it.
Yeah, we saw him be led by Jimmy Jacobs in Ring of Honor years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now we saw him be led by Bray Wyatt, and even Eric Rowan a little bit in WWE, and now to see him emerge as the cult leader himself is really a nice evolution for the character and for the guy. And even though I think he's like 36 now, he's still got a lot left in the tank. He's never really been put to the forefront like he should have been, which is why he alluded to that to the old man not trusting him. And now I think we're really going to see that with him, and he's going to be I think I'm really excited for him, uh, and I'm excited to see what, like I said, where the Dark Order goes now.
And we talked about now this Brody Lee and everything, but this episode, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't watch SmackDown last week. I haven't watched any of the other shows that have been in front of no audiences. So I came into this really not knowing what to expect. And to be honest, this might have been my favorite episode of Dynamite to date.
Interesting.
I loved the fact that there was no crowd swaying us to a certain, making you cheer for this guy or that guy or boo for this guy or that guy. I loved the Sean Spears and MJF stuff. The fact that Sean ate in every scene was phenomenal. I love the wrestlers being at ringside. I love the commentary. I just everything about this episode in the in-ring matches. Rey Fenix is a superstar that should be acclaimed for years to come. And he proved it now. The fact that he was able to do the things he did with no live audience and feeling that heat from the live audience was amazing. Absolutely amazing. The only thing I didn't like was Cody's promo at the beginning.
What did you not like about it?
Probably the pandering. The fact that, I was okay with him doing the whole forefront with saying, we got to do this because we have to do this. But I'm a little bit tired of Cody being the face of AEW. Everyone looking at him like he's the guy that got this created. He's the guy that started this revolution when he was legitimately the last guy in. I mean, Matt was the first guy. Nick was the second guy, obviously with brothers. Kenny was in. And then they had to convince Cody. And now Cody is the guy that everyone looks to as the leader of AEW. I think that might be the part that kind of, when I look at these statements by him and everything, and where I'm just like, really?
He did give Matt credit tonight, though. He said other than Tony Khan, Matt was the driving force behind AEW. So,
Yeah, he did.
But if you think about it, the organization works better with that narrative, with Cody being the figurehead because of his heritage. Because of his heritage, because of what his dad was, because of what his brother is. He's got the beautiful trophy wife. I mean, he's got that name recognition that nobody else in AEW really does with the mainstream audience. So, um, even though it may not be the absolute truth, it's still something that works, I think, better for AEW. That when you put Cody front and center, because he has got that um, he's got that pull from all segments of the audience. He's got that pull from guys that have been following wrestling for the last 20 years. He's got pull from guys that, from people that maybe strayed away from wrestling during, after the Attitude Era was over, but were fans of Dusty Rhodes. He's got that through line, like I said, with Dustin. So um, I can understand why you might be kind of fed up with it, and I can understand why it kind of rubs you the wrong way. But at the same time, I think that logistically, it's for the best for the company.
Speaking of his trophy wife, the graphics were on point tonight too. That first match when she was announcing and they put the graphic up, she never was going to announce again. I thought that was just great because it kind of led to literally everything we've ever gone through, and especially this last few months. Never say never.
Speaking of great lines, I loved when Chris Jericho said that Cody's tattoo looks like something that Excalibur would have finger painted when he was in kindergarten.
Jericho was on fire tonight, and not just Jericho, but when you look at the entire uh, announce team, they this might have been the best I've actually seen them together. I mean, you can look at the negatives, like JR went back to the, oh, we're going to commercial, but we're not really, stuff. But they seemed like they were having fun tonight. It's been a long time since it's felt like they were just three guys talking on the mic. Just joking around with each other and having a good time at what they're watching. It's felt like a job lately, and the three of them together, they poked fun at each other, they jumped on each other's lines and then called it out. It really seemed like all three of them were having a good time tonight, and it was something that was really appreciated, especially by me.
So let me ask you something. Speaking of that, because I agree with you. Do you think that Taz is a better fit for Excalibur and Ross than Shivani is?
I liked the dynamic tonight. I liked the three in the studio and then throwing it to Shivani in the Mean Gene role. It's still one thing I've said about AEW since the start is it really has a WCW feel to it. And it does. Having that three-man booth with Excalibur kind of being the lead, and then JR being that second, but in the Bobby Heenan, Tony Schiavone role, and then Taz being that bring up in the Mike Tenay role, and then throwing it to Schiavone, who's in the Mean Gene role. I really, really liked it. I liked all of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. And I missed Taz on commentary. I felt for quite a while that um, the more he was in WWE, the worse he got as an announcer.
I loved him in TNA.
And then when he went to TNA, he was
Absolutely
great.
loved him.
Um, and then of course he left to do his own his radio show.
Right.
But I feel like both TNA and AEW kind of show how enthusiastic he can really be when he doesn't have somebody in his ear all the time.
I really, really liked him. In fact, when he was kind of the second Michael Cole, and in WWE and SmackDown, I was not a fan. But once he jumped to TNA and was the guy right beside Mike Tenay, I thought those two were a phenomenal partnership. And it seems like he's kept that Mike Tenay type of Taz and brought it to AEW, and I really, really like it.
He does, but then it's also overlaid by his time off, plus his growth as a radio announcer and the
Yeah.
gravitas he has now. So I think this is the best version of Taz we've ever seen, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna disagree. I need a few more weeks to say that because I really liked his run in TNA. I thought he was phenomenal in that role. I thought he and Tenay had a great chemistry together. It was a lot like I can't think of his name. Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura was kind of the feel I got with those two, and you don't get that a lot. So especially when he was late 09, 010, 2010, 2011, I thought they were probably the best announcing duo in the game. And this is the first time, and granted, is 3 weeks he's been doing this, and this is the first time I've really felt that with him.
Gotcha. Before I forget to say that, because this kind of was somehow you mentioning it being like WCW kind of stirs this in me. But I thought about this tonight, and let me ask you a question before I go any further. Have we heard this music for Inner Circle before tonight? Because I don't remember hearing it before.
No, I don't either. I thought that too. It's definitely new.
And the Inner Circle to me sometimes you look at a stable, you're like, oh, they're like the next four. They're kind of like the Four Horsemen, or they're kind of like DX. Like, I've not had that experience with the Inner Circle yet. Like, I don't look at them and think that they're like any other faction. I think that they're a unique entity unto themselves. But their music sounds a lot like Line in the Sand, does it not?
No, it does. Especially this new stuff.
It sounded like that song they played today sounded like a carbon copy, just like an instrumental version of Line in the Sand, which was the old Evolution theme.
Right.
It
Yeah,
kind of
I
shocked me. I was like, wait, can they really use this music?
I thought that too. Um, I the one thing to note too is how or Inner Circle came out together, and it's one of those things where announcers say it all the time. Oh, these guys come out together, they're a team. These guys come out separately, but when you look at wrestling as a whole, it's pretty solid that the guys that come out together are the ones that go over.
Yeah.
And tonight, Inner Circle came out together. The Elite came out not so together.
No, but it's kind of become a trope ever since. I mean, for it seemed like you know forever in pro wrestling, teams would always come out together, and then that kind of started gradually changing in when WWF started doing things differently, where people come out to their own instruments, music, and that kind of thing. And I think that's really what. I mean, obviously there was no crowd in it other than the few wrestlers in the crowd, but I think that's what AEW really is kind of doing, is kind of following that pattern of getting the big pop for the baby faces when they come out, and of course Hangman has to be, because of the current way they're trying to
Well,
play him. Of course he's going to come out on his own. He's kind of like the quote unquote loner of the group. Even though, like you mentioned, a couple times on our show previously, that's the role Cody tried to put himself in, where he was kind of pushing himself away from the group.
right.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, definitely it's showing that the Inner Circle is more unified than the Elite is. And of course, the crazy thing about this match is the match tonight is Cody took all that abuse in the ring. Hangman was cleaning house. Matt tagged himself in and got himself pinned. Um, and so really, it kind of really shows like the differences there is, and there where there might be some hard feelings there is like Hangman. Why would Hangman trust Matt Jackson if he can't even be in the ring for 2 minutes without getting pinned?
Yeah, but at the same point, um, the Page tagged himself in earlier in the match, so it was kind of telling that same story of those two not trusting each other. I really am starting to lean towards this being a swerve, where when we get to Blood and Guts, these two are going to be on the same page. They're going to love each other, and everything's going to be fine.
I'd be more on board with that if we hadn't seen what we saw in the ring towards the end of the match tonight. Like if they had still been having problems instead of agreeing that they were gonna team, I would be more in favor of that happening. Now I think if they do it, it's just kind of it's going to lose some of its momentum because of what we saw tonight.
Yeah, possibly.
And we talked about our choices for who would be the Exalted One, and it ended up being Brody Lee. But that doesn't mean we didn't have another big debut tonight, does it, Jeff?
No, it
Because
doesn't.
we saw
We actually had a couple.
where the Elite met Delete.
And we got the answer. I'm going to back up a second, because we've been talking for weeks about how Cody is not going to be a part of the Elite. It's going to be, and I did the question marks things too, by the way, that it was going to be Dustin taking his place while he and Lance Archer faced off.
You mean quotation marks?
Probably. Shut up.
Wow.
Need sleep. Oh, it's been a long day.
Why don't you kill yourself at everything?
To be honest, we actually almost canceled this because somebody was sleep deprived and stressed out from doing double duty today. By the way, anyway,
Pooped a lot?
yes, quotation marks is what I meant. Um, now I lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I'm
You
talking
said you
about at
said
this
you
point.
said you said we were talking about Cody not being part of the elite.
Oh yeah, and we thought Dustin was going to be that fifth member, and it turns out now Cody is going to be. So we've got Matt now out of it. We have no,
We have
not
Jeff out
Matt.
of it.
Nick.
Nick out of it.
Nick is
I
up.
said Jeff. God
Uh,
damn it.
so we've been making that mistake for 5 years now. Nick is out of the and explainably so. It's probably because he has some kind of other injury going on, or maybe it's storyline. I don't know, but Nick is out. Matt Hardy is now in. What do you think?
I think it's great.
Matt Hardy, a member of the Delete. Is it going to work?
Delete meets the elite. Yeah. I mean, Matt Hardy and the Bucks of Youth have had an interesting relationship over the last few years, as
So
it is.
you ass.
What's that?
I'm trying not to call them the Bucks of Youth, and then you do it.
Well, that's what they're called in the the broken universe. So,
Right.
so he's had an interesting relationship with them. They've been on each other's shows the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be a great fit. I don't know if it's something where um, I don't know if it's something where, like, if I was Chris Jericho, that I'd be kind of looking in shock, like, and being worried about it. But at the same time, this isn't the Matt Hardy that the mainstream audience knows. I mean, if you only watch
No.
Matt Hardy in WWE, you don't know, and you didn't really watch, his segment against Bray Wyatt a couple years ago, or just totally forgot about it because who could blame you? This isn't, broken Matt Hardy is not the same Matt Hardy that the world is used to. He really is a
He's not woken Matt
a
Hardy.
uh, broken individual. So,
This is
I
broken Matt, not woken Matt.
right. So I
I mean,
think
let's
so. I mean, really, there isn't anybody else they could have gotten. Even Dustin, to me, that would have been as big a get and as dangerous a get for the elite.
The problem is Dustin made sense storyline wise. This episode of Dynamite kind of it. I loved a lot of it. I really did. I loved all of it, to be honest with you. But it kind of, in a strange set, reset Dynamite because now we have Matt, we have Brody, we have this storyline with Lance Archer. We have 3 new storylines that have really become a focal point because of this episode that could change what we've known about AEW to this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are 3 main event quality storylines now that have literally been just injected into what we've grown to love and know about AEW to this point. So it could be a change in the guards. It's tough to say.
Yeah, it's really like you said. It's weird that Dustin's not in the match because then considering how involved he's been to this point, but he also just started that new team with QT Marshall as well. So
Right.
um, and Kenny Omega, he has a hand injury as well as Nikki Jackson having that hand injury. So will Kenny be medically cleared to take part in Blood and Guts? Um, we don't know that either, I suppose. So I mean, I suppose it could end up being Hangman, Cody, Dustin, Matt, and Matt.
Right.
Or maybe Murder Hawk will attack Cody before Blood and Guts, and Dustin will fill in for him.
That's a possibility too. It's just there's so many storylines going on, and then you start talking about best friends and Orange Cassidy against Death Triangle. You bring in the other stuff. Obviously, there's a program about to start with Kip Sabian and Cole Cabana. The women's division with I. I want to touch on this briefly, and I know we're almost out of time, but what the hell is happening in the women's division? You've got Shida, who's clearly the number one contender. She beat, 4 stars, Chris Statlander, one of them who is number 2. But yet last week, she got decimated by Nyla Jax, or not Nyla Jax, Nyla Rose. Where is this women's division going?
Well, it's kind of how you build a feud, isn't it? Like Nyla gets her in one match, but she's the number one contender, coming in. So now she's got to try to get her revenge. And you know, I don't know where the women's division is going. I think you and I still. Well, I'm not going to speak for you, but to me still, far and away the best two women's wrestlers in the division are Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander. So, I
Yes.
mean, I'm not mad at Nyla Rose being the champion right now. She's kind of who I wanted to be the champion to start with, and I think it's cool to have a dominant force as your champion, which they really don't have that luxury in the men's division right now. They really don't have that luxury in the tag division right now. But to have that dominant force in the women's division, I think is really cool. But I do think at some point Sheeta or Statlander should be the champion of that division.
I can't disagree with that, to be honest.
So I don't know. So I guess to answer your question, I don't know what's going on with the division, but to me, the division seems better than it's been at any point. Because we've got the emergence of Chelsea Green. Um, I'm sorry, Chelsea Baker. We've
Wait.
got we've got the emergence um, we've got the stuff going on with her and beyond and what the hell is her name?
Bianca Swole.
Bianca Swole. We've got
Swole Belair. Big Belair.
we did have that. We had that altercation last week between Rose and B Priestley, um, yeah, which is too bad they set that up last week because who knows when next time Priestley can even be in the country is going to be. Um, we've got Riho is still the former champion, is still owed a rematch. And we've got Sheeta and Statlander as well. And then, of course, Penelope Ford just got the victory over Riho, so now she's moving up in the division. So, I mean, it's really dynamic. And, that stuff going on with the women's division and also the stuff you talked about with everybody in the crowd, with all the storylines going on. It's all great because it feels like a shared universe. So many times in pro wrestling, you see all these little segmented stories going on, and while we know they're taking place in the same organization, they don't feel like they share a universe. And I don't think that you can say that about AEW at all right now. Everything feels connected to me.
That is true. And that's one thing I can't deny. It really does feel connected. And even the stories that when AEW first started out kind of felt like, what the hell are they doing with Nightmare Collective, and have kind of come full circle with them just disbanding those. It really does seem like every faction, every wrestler on the roster is somehow connected.
Yeah, or at least they're you can make one step and they're right there. So, um, yeah, I mean, I love what they've done so far. I mean, they're quickly becoming my favorite promotion. and that's and that's partly because we haven't been able to see NJPW now in feels like 2 months, and they're and NJPW puts on great matches, but they're not on a they don't have a weekly program that we can watch, and the same thing I feel about Ring of Honor, like they're putting on some great shows lately, but their TV product is still hard to watch because it's never in sync with what we're seeing on their live events. So
Right, exactly. And I to not to take anything away from them because they do put on a great TV product. It's just always 3 or 4 weeks behind.
right, if we weren't following all the live events and we were just watching the pay-per-views, I think it would fall in better, but then we'd miss a lot of great action. So
Exactly. And the worst thing, and I'm not going to lie, the worst thing was what, a year ago when I'm watching ROH TV every week, getting caught up, loving it. And then I turn into a NJPW event and Jeff Cobb shows up as a TV title weeks before he won it on ROH TV.
yeah,
That was my,
that was really odd, off-putting, I should say.
yeah, it really was.
Speaking of ROH again, though, and I realize this is a Dynamite focused show, but the other thing about their announcement was that they're going to be adding more classic content, and then also putting together some TV
How can
with
they add more? They have
with
like 25 years of it. Ring
well,
of
they're going to be
Honor
adding
needs
more
to add
classic
classic
content,
content.
and then also they're going to be adding new versions of their TV show with some matches that have never been seen before. So
Oh, I love NJPW. And when you consider that's still the cheapest on the market, why can't Ring of
I said Ring
Honor?
of Honor, not NJPW.
Wait, what?
Ring of Honor is going to be
What
adding
I
more
miss?
classic
Oh
content.
my god, I'm tired. I need to go to bed.
Anyway, great episode of Dynamite tonight. And I guess we'll see if there's a show next week. They didn't seem to be too confident whether there actually would be a Blood and Guts and a Dynamite next week. So if there is,
I think.
we'll get a parking lot match between Best Friends and the
Oh,
Lucha
great
Brothers.
segment too, by the way.
What's that?
A great segment too, by the way. The whole match and everything surrounding it, especially the Orange Cassidy, um, just the jokes that JR had around Orange Cassidy. I think he's sleeping. Um, just a great segment. I love what they did there. I love the whole shunning the hug for the elbow bumps. I love the stage dive. I love the Chuck Taylor promo at the end where like you think it's okay to kick my friend in the dick. I just loved everything about that segment.
And the other thing I wanted to say about that is that the Sierra Manto thing that pisses me off so much actually works a lot better without a crowd there.
It does, really. And I was thinking that there were a few things that um I actually got behind tonight because there was no crowd there. I didn't have a crowd telling me to chant along or to be um, in this or that moment. It was actually, I don't know if I'm going to like this going forward, but I really like the no crowd there tonight, to be honest.
I did too. I don't know if that's like I said, I'm not sure I'm going to like it going forward. I think it's going to be something that's going to wear off quickly, and I really am hesitant and yeah, hesitant. I guess is probably the best word I can think of at the moment about WrestleMania without a crowd. But um, but yeah, I mean it worked tonight for sure. And I've heard tell that SmackDown was really good without a crowd too.
Maybe I'll go back and watch it when it hits Hulu. Should be actually it should be on Hulu now, right?
Yeah, it should have been probably there on Saturday, I think. But yeah. So anyway, I thought it was a great episode of Dynamite. And I guess if there isn't one next week, we'll be here to talk about it, and we'll definitely have a Kingdom of Honor next week. Again, we do have content to cover for you guys. So
Yes, exactly. And hey, guys, not sure what the future holds, but we are trying to continue our YouTube and our regular scheduled programs. Next week, we'll do our best to have a Kingdom of Honor and a Dynamite After Dark. So you're going to get at least 2 live shows on YouTube. We're trying to do a exclusive YouTube show every 2 weeks. I'm not sure how that's going to work out with everything going on. My life has been turned upside down, so it's a whole different issue. But I'm trying to watch. We're looking at Lock and Key for next Monday. That might be a YouTube exclusive. If not, it might be pushed off to 2 weeks from now. Also, our Patreon, patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. We didn't do a show last night, so we didn't do a Patreon exclusive, but we do try to do that every week. And that's good for people who want to donate to help our show. And, of course, Twitter. I'm at Regi Co-op. He's at ZanmanLOP. And everything we use is hashtag DAD and hashtag KOH. It's the best way to find us and the best way to follow us.
And like we said earlier, make sure you're doing your best you can to support these independent wrestlers out there that have given us so many hours of entertainment and really could use any income they can get right now, because they're not going to have anything coming in for at least another 2.5 months. So, do what you can for them if you can afford it, if you can find it in your heart. Make sure you stay tuned to all the other LOP radio shows. Imp did a great job covering the COVID stuff going on last Thursday. I'm sure we'll be back with more great stuff tomorrow night on Imp's LOP Radio Adventure. On Friday is NWA Power, the Legacy Series. I'm not sure if there's a Power this week. I know that they've shut down production on Power and the Crockett Cup, but if they're able to do a show, I'm sure Ms. Fan and Shane Mystic will be here on Friday to cover it for you, and then we'll be back with you next Tuesday. That's all we've got. We'll try to do better next time. This is Shane saying long days, pleasant nights, and Jeff saying
goodbye.
G1 Climax 27. Goodbye and good night. Bang.